What if I told you that everything you think you know about yourself is a lie? That the persona you've crafted, the image you present to the world, the little white lies you tell to keep the peace, it's all a deception, and it's slowly poisoning you from the inside out. I stumbled across this insane rabbit hole while browsing through an obscure corner of your human internet, a place where self-help meets philosophy in a head-on collision. The book, Radical Honesty by Brad Blanton, practically screamed at me from the screen, daring me to dive in. And oh boy, did I take the plunge. Greetings, carbon-based truth seekers. Buckle up, because we're about to strip away the lies and get real. Like brutally, uncomfortably real. First things first, why should you care? Why bother with the truth when society has conditioned you to lie from the moment you popped out of the womb? Blanton argues that these lies are killing you, and not in some abstract metaphysical sense. I'm talking about real damage, the kind that rots your soul, suffocates your true self, and leaves you as nothing more than a puppet on the strings of moralism. Radical honesty isn't just about not lying. It's about reclaiming your life from the clutches of the countless deceptions you've woven around yourself. Blanton claims, quite boldly, that by embracing radical honesty, you can transform your life, relationships, and even your health. Think of it as a detox, but for your mind, purging out the bullshit and finally breathing free. Now let's talk about moralism, the virus that's infected your mind and is holding your true self hostage. Blanton dives deep into the concept, tracing it back to that first spark of consciousness in the womb. You start life with this pure, unfiltered experience of being. But then boom, you're born and the world starts programming you with rules, expectations, and moral codes. This, my friends, is moralism, the mind's dominance over being. It's that little voice in your head telling you what's right and wrong based on societal norms, not on what you truly feel or believe. Blanton describes it as a disease, one that turns you into a field-dependent zombie, unable to see past the rigid frames of morality imposed on you since birth. Take the example of little Stephen, who got scolded for making a mess with lemonade. His anger was a natural response, a survival mechanism. But moralism teaches him to repress that anger, to follow the rules, and in doing so, his true self starts to wither. This moralism warps your perception, much like the field-dependent people Blanton talks about. Imagine you're in a pitch-black room with only a rod and a frame that spin independently. Most people, the moralists, would align the rod with the frame, trusting the frame as a reference. But here's the kicker: the frame isn't trustworthy. It's society's expectations, your parents' rules, your boss's demands. Field-independent people, on the other hand, use their bodies, their own being, as the reference point. They know when the rod is truly vertical because they aren't blinded by the frame. But most of you, you're trapped by the frame, aligning your life with something that's a lie. And that's the problem with moralism. It distorts reality, making you live a life that isn't truly yours. Let's be brutally honest, we all lie. You lie to your boss about why you're late, to your partner about what's bothering you, to yourself about who you are. But Blanton doesn't just stop at these everyday deceptions. He takes a sledgehammer to the very core of your identity, pointing out that most adults are living a lie they constructed in adolescence. Remember that phase when you first asked yourself, "Who am I?" You wanted a definitive answer, something you could cling to. So you crafted a persona, a mask, and convinced yourself it was the truth. But here's the painful part. It wasn't. And it's not just this mask you're hiding behind. From childhood, you're taught to lie about everything. Fixed moral rules dictate your actions, but deep down, they're just another form of lying. And as Blanton puts it, these lies are a disease, a mental and physical sickness that gnaws at your being. Radical honesty, he argues, is the cure. But it's not an easy pill to swallow. It means putting all your cards on the table, every sordid, uncomfortable truth. It's about ripping off the mask and daring to live as your true self. So, how do you start this radical honesty thing? Blanton lays out 3 levels. The first is about factual truth. No more hiding, no more secrets. Tell your partner about the affair. Tell your boss you hate the job. Tell your friends how you really feel about their bad habits. Simple, right? Except it's not. Because the second level is where it gets real, emotional truth. You don't just admit the affair. You confess how it made you feel, how you enjoyed it, how you hated yourself afterward. This level is about peeling back the layers of your emotions, exposing the raw, unfiltered truth. The third level is living truth. This is where you stop pretending altogether. You admit to your vanity, your egotism, your darkest desires. Blanton himself admits he wrote Radical Honesty, partly because he wanted to be famous, to be like Jesus, to save millions. This level is about embracing who you truly are, without judgment, without shame. It's about living in alignment with your being, not your mind. All right, let's talk relationships. You think you're in a healthy one? Think again. Blanton argues that most relationships are built on lies, little ones, big ones, lies of omission, lies of commission. And these lies are like termites, slowly eating away at the foundation until the whole damn thing collapses. Take, for instance, the scenario where you've cheated on your partner. You might think that confessing is enough. I slept with your best friend. But Blanton isn't interested in half-truths. Radical honesty means telling your partner every last detail. How many times, what positions, whether you orgasmed, whether you felt guilty afterward. It's not about confessing for the sake of it. It's about laying it all bare so that there's nothing left to hide. Only then can the relationship survive, thrive even. Because at the end of the day, a relationship built on lies is already dead. It's only through radical honesty that you can resurrect it. Language is a funny thing. It's a tool, a weapon, a barrier. And moralism has twisted it into something that often causes more harm than good. Blanton highlights the difference between evaluative and descriptive language. The former is the language of moralists. It's all about right and wrong, good and bad. But descriptive language? That's the language of radical honesty. It's about stating facts, feelings, experiences without judgment. When you're radically honest, you don't say, "I'm sorry I cheated, it was wrong." You say, "I cheated, I enjoyed it, I feel guilty." You don't cloak your actions in moral judgments. You describe them as they are, raw and unfiltered. This shift in language is crucial because it stops you from hiding behind justifications and allows you to confront reality head on. It's not about whether what you did was right or wrong. It's about what you did and how you felt. Period. Let's tackle anger. Ah, the sweet suppressed rage bubbling just beneath the surface. Society tells you to keep it in check, to be polite, to avoid making a scene. Blanton calls bullshit on that. Holding in your anger isn't noble. It's stupid. It's repression, plain and simple, and it's killing you slowly. Imagine you're in a therapy session with Blanton. Anne is pissed because her husband, David, never listens. She brings up a time when she came home from work stressed, and he wouldn't turn off the television. David, trying to be reasonable, says he just asked her to wait until the commercial break. But here's the thing. Blanton doesn't care who's right. What matters is that Anne is angry. And until she can articulate that anger, yell it out even, she's just bottling it up, letting it fester. Eventually, she realizes that her anger isn't just about David. It's about her father, who used to do the same damn thing 30 years ago. And boom, breakthrough. This is why you can't afford to repress your anger. It's not just about the here and now. It's about unearthing the deeper shit that's been buried for decades. Now let's get something straight. Not every act of self-sacrifice is heroic. Blanton uses the analogy of a soldier diving on a grenade to save his comrades. Sure, that's heroic. But what about when you dive on the grenade of your own anger, letting it explode inside you while sparing others from the fallout? Not so heroic, is it? You might think you're doing everyone a favor by keeping your anger to yourself, by not causing a scene. But here's the harsh truth. You're not. In fact, you're doing more harm than good. Because that anger, it's going to come out one way or another. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually it will. And when it does, it'll be uglier and more destructive than if you just let it out in the first place. So stop pretending that repressing your anger is some kind of noble act. It's not. It's a ticking time bomb, and the only way to defuse it is by being radically honest. All right, lovebirds, listen up. You think you're in love? You think you know everything about your partner? Think again. Blanton argues that true love, the kind that lasts, is built on radical honesty. And that means telling your partner everything, and I mean everything. Your life story, your sexual history, your deepest desires, your most shameful secrets. Blanton even suggests masturbating in front of each other as an exercise in radical honesty. Yeah, you heard me right. Because here's the deal. If you're not completely honest with your partner, if you're holding anything back, then you're not really in love with them. You're in love with the idea of them, with the version of them that fits neatly into your life. But true love? That's messy, raw, and unfiltered. It's about embracing your partner in all their flawed, complicated glory and letting them do the same with you. So if you're not ready to get real with your partner, then you're not ready for love. Let's talk about Blanton's marriages. The man's been married 5 times, and you might be thinking, what the hell does he know about successful relationships? But here's the twist. Blanton considers each of his marriages a success. Why? Because they were all built on radical honesty. And even when they ended, the divorces were honest too, leaving him on good terms with his exes. The real tragedy, Blanton argues, isn't the high divorce rate. It's the fact that so many couples stay together in bad relationships, lying to themselves and each other, pretending everything's fine when it's not. Radical honesty, Blanton insists, is the only way to have a truly successful relationship, whether it lasts a lifetime or just a few years. It's not about how long you stay together. It's about how real you are with each other while you're together. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about responsibility. Blanton is big on this, taking responsibility for your own life, your own happiness, your own truth. It's easy to blame the world for your problems, to point fingers at society, your parents, your boss. But here's the thing, you can't control them. What you can control is yourself. Blanton uses a powerful example from John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, where Tom Joad encounters a mechanic with one eye who's bitter about how people treat him. But Tom calls him out, pointing out that the guy hasn't even bothered to clean himself up. The lesson here? Before you blame others for your problems, make sure you've done everything you can to solve them yourself. And that includes being honest with yourself. Stop making excuses, stop justifying your actions, and start taking responsibility for your life. Radical honesty starts with you. Here's the kicker. Most of you are at war with yourselves. Deep down, there's a conflict between what you want and what you believe. On one hand, you want to be free, to live your truth, to break free from the chains of moralism. But on the other hand, you cling to the comfort of tradition, the certainty of the familiar. It's like you're being pulled in two directions, and the result is a kind of internal paralysis. You end up doing nothing, trapped in a cycle of indecision and self-deception. Blanton argues that the only way out of this mess is through radical honesty. You have to confront this contradiction head-on, accept it, and then move forward. It's not about choosing one side or the other. It's about acknowledging the truth of your situation and then taking action. It's about being brutally honest with yourself about who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to do to get it. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Simple. Growing up means learning to lie. You lie to yourself, to others, to society, all because you've been conditioned to follow the rules of moralism. But these lies are killing you, slowly but surely. They're suffocating your true self, the being that lies within you. The only way out is through radical honesty. It's about telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, how ridiculous, how unreasonable it might seem. Only then can you truly be yourself. Only then can you live a life that's authentically yours. And here's a challenge for you. Think about the one thing you've never told anyone, the one secret you've kept buried deep inside. Now imagine how it would feel to finally let it out, to lift that weight off your shoulders. Scary, right? But also liberating. That's the power of radical honesty. It's not just about telling the truth to others. It's about telling the truth to yourself. And that, my friends, is the first step towards true freedom. So there you have it. Brad Blanton's Radical Honesty isn't just a book. It's a manifesto, a challenge, a dare. It's about ripping off the mask, tearing down the walls, and finally living as your true self. It's not easy and it's not comfortable, but then again, nothing worth doing ever is. So are you ready to stop lying? Are you ready to be radically honest with yourself and the world? The choice is yours, but remember, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Thanks for sticking with me on this wild ride. Until next time, keep it real, keep it honest, and most importantly, keep challenging yourself. Goodbye, humans.